is frankly humble. She didn't do it, and she needs to do it. But I want to put it in context, Judge. These aren't Term 1 violations. These aren't the types of things that make me feel as a citizen that, oh my God, if Elizabeth Johnson is released, we're going to have new criminal activity or something like that. Frankly, Judge, I can understand a lot of these violations. Why is she associating with somebody who has a prior felony conviction? Judge, this is one of the few people on the planet who still wants to associate with Elizabeth Johnson. It's a friend she met in prison. Is she allowed to do it? No. Should she have done it? No. But do I understand why she went to visit one of her very few friends? I get it, Judge. Do I understand why we have that prohibition? I get that too. I think the essence, the spirit of that prohibition is because we don't want people who are convicted of felony offenses associating with other felons because they can be up to bad things. That's the real, in my opinion, the essence. They can be a bad influence. They could be plotting to commit new crimes. There's none of that in this case, Judge. From everything I can see, this was a simple trip to visit a friend. And she wanted to keep it low-key. Yes, they were on Facebook, but I'm informed it wasn't my client's Facebook. It was the other person's Facebook. I don't know why they were on Facebook. I can tell you, Judge, during my representation of Elizabeth Johnson, from the very beginning, she's not somebody who's looking to be on TV, to be interviewed, to have a lot of press. She wants to move on with her life. The violations like buying a truck, Judge, I'm sure, had she simply asked her probation officer, they would have said, are you working? Do you have enough money to buy this truck? No problem. Getting married, I'm sure they would have done a background investigation. They were certainly aware of the engagement to this person. I've spoken with the husband, Judge, on several occasions now. You have a letter from him that I provided to you. He informs me he's got no prior felonies, never been in trouble, straight shooter, employed full-time, trying to move on with his life as well, and now he's got to deal with this situation. Again, Judge, it's nobody's fault but Elizabeth's fault. And I'm pointing out to the court, really these are the types of things that we want people on probation to do, right? I mean, she's got a full-time job, she's working, she's making money, she's in school full-time. I submitted her transcripts to you. Looks to me like she's pretty smart, she's a good student, she's doing something with her life. Hopefully she'll get a degree in criminal justice. She would be a great asset to the justice system because, Judge, she has a perspective on our system that some of us don't have that I think she can bring to the table. She expressed an interest at the very beginning when she, after the trial, before she even went to prison on the case, she explained to me someday she wanted to help women who are in similar circumstances. And this is part of her trek to get there. So, Judge, I would say the backdrop of this is really she's doing the things we really want her to do mostly. Did she dot all the I's and cross all the T's appropriately? No, she didn't, Judge. But she's also making a transition from a very difficult Department of Corrections stint where she didn't get the early release. She had trouble all the way through. Much of it is just like the trouble she has now with being in the jail. She doesn't get treated like everybody else. She's locked down for 23 hours a day. She's segregated from other people. Day for day, her time is more difficult in jail than it was in prison because of who she is. So transitioning from that, Judge, to where we want to get her, overall, I think she's doing a pretty good job, save these violations here, which in the big scheme of things aren't the types of things that ought to cause us to worry about her out in the community. Now, Judge, I've spoken with her husband, and I've spoken with Elizabeth on several occasions now. Her life is in New Mexico. I'm informed that her job is hanging on, waiting for her to get back there, and they're trying to keep a position available for her. Apparently they like her, she likes them, it's something she excels at. She's selling cars and doing in trucks and doing a good job at it. How long they can hang on to that job, I don't know. But if she loses that job, Judge, getting another job for Elizabeth Johnson, the mother of baby Gabriel, is going to be substantially harder. Not just a convicted felon, but Elizabeth Johnson. I think it's in everybody's interest, to do what we can to afford her the best opportunity to keep that job. If she washes out of school, That's not in anybody's interest either. I don't know how long she can still continue on in that program if she doesn't get back there. She doesn't have any contacts here in Arizona, Judge. Her entire life is back in New Mexico. You got some letters from some people who explain that. So honestly, what's best, Judge, and I know we can't do this, but what's best is to get her out of here and to get her back to her life in New Mexico. Have them watch her. She's now served 2 weeks. She understands, Judge, she made a big mistake. 2 weeks in custody, 2 weeks in jail, 2 weeks in 23-hour-a-day lockdown is enough to say, hey, you can't do this stuff anymore. You got to do a better job complying. And honestly, Judge, another 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, do we have any reason to think that that's going to afford any benefit to anybody? I mean, if I thought that it would benefit Elizabeth, if she was somebody who maybe was in a big drug addiction situation, she maybe needed to dry out or something, there could be a reason to park her there for a little while. But as I stand here, Judge, I'm wondering what benefit it is to anybody. She has to serve some punishment. She's done 15 days now, and that's not nothing, Judge. That's a substantial amount of time. It would be a big deal for you if you serve 15 days, or for me, or for Ms. Andrews. It's a big deal to have your liberty revoked when you're not planning to have it revoked. And I think it's important to point out, Judge, I know the state's asking for electronic monitoring. We really don't have evidence that that's appropriate either. It's important to know how this got started. They called her and said, Elizabeth, could you come into your probation officer's office? And she showed up. It wasn't like leaving the state like she's trying to flee the jurisdiction or anything like that. There's no evidence about that. She went to visit a friend. She shouldn't have done it. She's not going to do it again. She's informed me, and I believe her when she says that. But it's not the type of violation that should cause more concern. We really should be the biggest fool on the planet, Judge, at this point, to get released after this violation and then to flee the jurisdiction. It would be the dumbest thing maybe she's ever done in her life, certainly at this point. I don't think there's any evidence of that. What I'd like to do, and I'm informed that she can't apply to get back to New Mexico until you release her. And we don't know how long that process is going to be. Even if you released her today, Judge, which is what I'm going to ask you to do, I still don't know how quickly I can get her back to New Mexico, and if her job, and if her college education program is still going to be waiting for her, or if she's going to be washed out of both of those things and back to the beginning. Certainly not how I would have liked to have handled this situation. I understand there are rigid rules that are federal law, that are interstate compact, but to me, without a Term 1 violation, with a first-time technical type violations like this, with a probationer who voluntarily comes to the office, the way this really should have been handled, in my opinion, is, hey, Elizabeth, we don't want you to lose any of your things that you've now accomplished. Don't do this stuff anymore. I'm taking away maybe some privileges, things like that, changing the curfew, something along those lines. But to revoke her and send her back here, Judge, could be a net loss for everybody. So we can't fix that at this point, Judge. But what I'm asking you to do is to release her today. Let her stay in Arizona. I know she can't go back to New Mexico. Her husband has informed me he will do whatever it takes to make her transition, her time here in Arizona and her time back in New Mexico when she gets there, successful. He's informed me that if she gets released, he'll do everything in his power, and I have every reason to believe he's able to do this, to find some temporary housing, hopefully for not more than a few months. And he will come here if need be and live with her and do his best to make sure she complies with everything so we can get the time taking to get her back to New Mexico. At least if she's out, Judge, she can start making some calls. She can actually get back into school immediately if she's out because she's in an online program. She can salvage that situation. And Judge, at the end of the day, it's the best thing we can ever hope for people on probation, right? That they enroll in school and they start marching down the road of where we want them to go. Why would we make it harder for her to stay in that program? Judge, at the end of the day, I don't really have a philosophical objection with you putting an ankle bracelet on her if you wanted to release her today. I just don't think it's necessary. But I think what's important is getting her out of custody today. She's admitted You've had an opportunity now to assess her level of remorse and understanding of the violations here. She's had a big wake-up call, Judge. So I'm asking you now to do what you can to help make her more successful to complete the probation grant so she doesn't get revoked down the road, Judge, because it's in nobody's interest for that to happen either. Let's keep her on the track to moving in the right direction. I'm asking you, release her today. If you want to give her an ankle bracelet. Also, Judge, if you want to have a verified address here in Arizona before she's released, I will work with the husband today, get an address, provide that to probation, let them verify that address, and maybe she could be released in a couple of days. That's fine with us, too. Thank you, Judge.
Any legal comments, counsel?
No, Judge.
Ms. Johnson, just reading over the violations that you have here just highlights the thing that I see constantly is people of your generation do not want to surrender to authority. They don't want to follow the rules. They don't want to be told what to do. And unfortunately, that's a great idea, but it doesn't work in the real world, especially when you're on probation. And being on probation means that you have to follow the rules and you have to follow them exactly. These are just dumb mistakes that you made, but they're mistakes showing that you don't want to submit to authority. And that's the whole purpose of part of your probation, is to make sure you understand that you have to follow the rules that society sets forth for you. It does concern me that you left the state of New Mexico to come here to meet with the person listed in term number 13 without seeking advice from your probation officer and getting permission to do that. Your probation officer in New Mexico can give you a travel permit. I don't think they would have, but they could have. Okay? But you didn't even seek that permission first. You just went on your own. I also don't like to give a lot of jail time to let you just work your way through all of your time so that there's nothing left when you go to prison. I'm a firm believer that if you're going to violate probation and I'm going to send you to prison, I want you to do as much time as I have available to give you. And if you come back here, you're going to see me again most likely, since you're now on my caseload. And I will remember that you were here, and I'll remember what you did, because I have it all on my computer right here. I don't see you as a flight risk, but I do think that being released in the town where you don't have many connections anymore, and with the fact that you have a tendency to use alcohol at times, that you might get just duck out back to New Mexico without permission. So I am going to find that a GPS bracelet is going to be appropriate. There being no legal cause at this time, I do find that probation continues to be appropriate for you. I am going to order that the imposition of sentencing continue to be suspended and that you be reinstated on 4 years of supervised probation with a revised expiration date of July 26, 2018. The standard terms and conditions of probation 1 through 15 will apply to you. Your probation officer in term number 9 has allowed you to apply for interstate compact in the state of New Mexico. I have no authority to grant or deny your transfer to the state of New Mexico. Your probation department has to first agree to allow you to go back to New Mexico. New Mexico then has to agree to accept you. And I don't know how long that will take. It could take 5 days, it could take 90 days. I don't know whether for them to make that decision. But again, that's up to them. Term number 16, you are not to consume or possess any substance containing alcohol while you're on probation. Term number 18 is you will serve 20 days in the Maricopa County Jail. That sentence is to begin as of today's date. You're to be given credit for 14 days time served. Not to be released until April 21st, 2016. At that time, you must supply probation department with an address where you will be residing. That address needs to be approved by probation. Term number 19 is you're not to have any contact with any victim in this case. Term number 21 is you'll abide by the attached special conditions of probation, being domestic violence terms and mental health terms. Term number 22 is you're to complete all substance abuse and mental health testing, counseling, and treatment. All results are to be released to your probation officer. Term number 22 is you will be wear a GPS monitoring device while you're in the state of Arizona for the first 90 days of your reinstatement. Term number 15, the monthly probation fees, fines, and assessments will begin as of August 1st, 2016. There is an interstate compact application fee that has been included. Santos, do we have a extradition cost at this time?
Not this time around.
All right, Ms. Johnson, unfortunately, one of the aspects of being extradited back to Arizona is that you're going to be paying the cost of that extradition. Those matters will eventually come up, and if you wish to have a hearing on it, you have a right to have a hearing on that cost. You need to speak with your attorney about that. Okay. All right. You are ordered to and directed to report to your probation officer within 72 hours of being released from custody. I'm going to direct probation to make contact with you while you're in custody, if at all possible, to speak with you about probation and your application to the state of New Mexico. Your attorney, I understand from what he's told me, is going to provide probation with the address where you're going to be residing. You do have a right to file a petition for post-conviction relief if you believe that an error was committed in your case. If you wish to file that petition, you must do so within 90 days or you will lose your right to file that petition. You heard me tell you about that earlier. There will be a document with your paperwork telling you exactly how to file that petition. Anything else, Ms. Andrews? Anything else, Mr. Victor?
Judge, just some clarification regarding the GPS bracelet. You said it needs to be on for 90 days. If for some reason she's allowed to travel...
It was while she's in Arizona for the first 90 days. If she's able to travel before then, it will then come off.
Okay, that's all I have. Nothing further, Judge.
Do you want me to enter any of these letters, or do you want these back?
I'll take them back, Judge.
Okay. All right, Ms. Johnson, good luck to you. I hope that you're able to be successful in this, and especially now that you're trying to start a new life, because a prison term would not do you a lot of good, okay? Good luck to you. All right, we will stand at recess. Not till after 2 o'clock. They got to have their break. Unless you have another team that can come in. If you want to come in, well, I got to have a clerk too. I don't know if your kid is here or not, can come in or not. But otherwise, it'll be 2 o'clock, an hour from when they get finished. Susan, somebody will need to let them out because I'd like to get them on their break. Is there somebody? Can somebody else? Can Kathleen or somebody come back? Julie, let me know. I want you to have the full hour before we come back. Okay? Huh? Oh, yeah. We won't be starting back up until at least an hour from when we all get through. Okay? Well, Julie's still got some work. You've got some work. The deputy's got to get everybody back. Or the detention officers, I'm sorry.
Judge, the 1-831 that Christie has, it's going to be a retest.
Okay. Hopefully he stayed around. Hopefully he stuck around. I've got this one that was on the wrong.
And I noticed that.
We don't have any hearings set. Do we?
Maricopa County Jail.
We have one hearing? Who's it with?
I will see her.
Oh, it's Kim. And I don't know, she said it. Yay! Crystal, what's going on? That's okay, I'm sure I'll see.
Sonis, thank you. We're going to take the full hour. I just want to say thank you. We're going to take a full hour. So you have your lunch.
Yes.
Thank you. It's been a long day for you. It's going to be a lot longer.